Ambassador David Adelman has been serving in Singapore since early 2010. He has visited 20 U.S. cities promoting the National Export Initiative and has led business missions to India, Indonesia, and twice to Vietnam. Ambassador Adelman, I'm looking forward to your remarks on Singapore.
Thank you, Royanne, and thank you to the business leaders, American Chamber executives, members of the press, and your staff here, Ambassador Roos, for being a part of this conference and having us come speak. I wanted to talk for just a minute about tiny Singapore, which I'm sure is the smallest country we're talking about today in both area and population, but it is the largest export market for American exports in Southeast Asia. It's our 11th largest export market around the world. It is our 4th largest trade surplus, so it's a great news story on trade, and it's equally as great on American investment, where there is $106 billion in cumulative American FDI in Singapore in 2011. That's about twice our FDI in China, twice Hong Kong. It's, I think, 4 or 5 times the size of American FDI in India. So, as is famously described, it is the country that punches above its weight, and that's especially true with regard to American trade and investment. Now, I want to continue with the sports references, American sports references, for just a minute and give you my take on economic development in Asia. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. There's no shortcuts. There's no magic bullet or magic wand we can wave. All we can do is collaborate with American business and American government, each doing their part to grind it out, identify your opportunities, open the doors, and do the advocacy you need in what at times are these very complicated countries. I wanted to tell you what that looks like from our perspective in Singapore, where we have more than 2,000 American businesses and many decision makers who cover not just Southeast Asia, but oftentimes all of East Asia, and even more ground than that in some cases. What it looks like for us is, first, as the Deputy Secretary has said, listening to American businesses. And what you have told us you want us to do out of Mission Singapore is to help you around the region, which is why, as Royanne has said, we have led business missions to India, to Indonesia, and twice now to Vietnam. Those missions really have 3 purposes. For some of you, the purpose is to work a particular issue you might have pending in government. For others, you're looking for partners, either local businesses or American businesses who have enjoyed some success. And then for others, it's just a part of your due diligence. You're still kicking tires, and you need to find out more about the macroeconomics in a particular country or a particular part of the country. I want to talk about 2 success stories, and because Vietnam is not represented on this panel, Ambassador Scheer had an emergency that took him back home. I wanted to use Vietnam, so we would be able to talk about Vietnam a little bit. I just returned from a trade mission to Vietnam. We had 28 American businesses represented by about 35 American executives, and the food industry Asia was also represented, which includes in its membership the Coca-Colas, McDonald's, and the other well-known American brand food and beverage companies. They had an issue that related to tough limitations on advertising, and the food industry had been working very hard to get into the government of Vietnam, but it was only when our 2 embassies, Embassy Hanoi and Embassy Singapore, collaborated with each other, as well as the American Chambers of Commerce in both Singapore and Hanoi, that we were able to get into the government of Vietnam and make the kind of emphasis on the issue that only comes when there are 2 U.S. ambassadors and 24 American businesses in the room. And we had a breakthrough just in the time we were there, where the government of Vietnam now has indicated they're going to reconsider their advertisement limitations and make Vietnam no longer, I think, the only place in the world where there's no McDonald's. Second is an example, a success story in Vietnam with an SME. We went on our first mission in December of 2010 with a small company. As a matter of fact, at the time, Dave Peck of Arrow was a board member of AmCham Singapore. I think he may still be on the board. And he was looking for a partner, a credible partner in Vietnam. And as a small business, he had struggled trying to find his way through the local business community. It was only when we went, frankly, with some real big-name MNCs that we were able to attract the local Vietnamese businesses and give Dave an opportunity to meet a distributor that I think has caused him to have a great deal of success over the past year. Those are two of what are many success stories, but I think the message is that the U.S. embassies across the Asia Pacific are doing a better job working together as a team, and for purposes of this panel, doing a better job collaborating with the American Chambers of Commerce and the individual businesses here in the region. Those trade missions, I think, should continue, and they should naturally come from the large business centers, but we're only going to continue to do it and go to places that you want us to take you. As the Deputy Secretary said in his opening remarks, I think the most important thing we can do by way of collaboration is to listen to American business. The final point I want to make is one that Ambassador Kim brought up and Ambassador Jones brought up, and that is our collaboration on CSR. I can't state strongly enough how important it has been in Singapore for our American diplomats and other U.S. government officials, both from the civilian side as well as our many U.S. Navy personnel, to work hand in hand with American business on your corporate social responsibility efforts, which in a small country make a very big impact. This year will mark the 10th anniversary of our CCD, Corporate Community Day, in Singapore, where we will have thousands of Americans from both the U.S. government and from many of the businesses represented here spread out over Singapore on one weekend, working on more than 36 different projects, and that has a great impact not just for purposes of capturing the goodwill that we continue to enjoy both for your businesses as well as the U.S. government, but I think it allows your employees to be more important parts of the connected communities in which they work and upon which you rely for the support of your businesses. So great success stories out in the region and great success stories very close to home in Singapore, and I look forward to your questions and the comments from the remainder of the speakers. Thank you.